3 Wochen lang hat es hier geregnet. 3 Wochen lang. Endlich kann ich wieder fahren. Und schau mal, siehst du, wie grün alles geworden ist? Ich liebe es. Okay, lass uns über etwas reden. Wenn ich nach Deutschland reise, hoffe ich, dass ich viele Menschen treffen werde. That's wrong. But why is it wrong? Let's talk about 2 words in German that are very confusing to English speakers because they can each be translated to the same word in English. The 2 words we're going to look at today are treffen und kennenlernen. These are not the same thing, and it's easy to mix them up. So, let's talk about it. Let's start in English. There's a very small, unassuming little verb that is to meet. What does that mean? Well, there's a problem here because there are multiple possible answers. There are multiple possible definitions of this verb. Normally, to meet is to meet up with one or more other people in the context of a pre-scheduled or pre-arranged meeting. In fact, the noun meeting in German clearly comes from the verb to meet. But the same verb to meet can also be used to refer to a chance encounter with someone. For example, I was at the airport and I met some famous celebrity. I couldn't believe it. It doesn't mean that I got to know them, it just means that I happened to chance upon them. And to meet can also be kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge. For example, while I was there, I met a beautiful girl. Met there could mean a lot of things. It depends on context. It could mean that we just had a brief fling. Or it could mean that we really got to know each other and were madly in love. Or it could just mean that it was just a casual, like I met her at a coffee shop and we talked for a little bit. It could mean a lot of things. It depends on how you say it and it depends on context. Now, confusingly, it doesn't stop there. In English, there's another definition of the word meet, and that is to fulfill. For example, we will meet that deadline next week, or we will meet or exceed those expectations. And even more confusingly, it still doesn't stop there. There's another definition of meet, and that is to describe an emotional response to something. For example, I was met with hostility, or my request was met with indifference. We use the word meet for all of those different things. So perhaps unsurprisingly, when you have a word with so many possible definitions, it's kind of difficult to translate and it's easy to get it wrong because the chances of one magical word in your target language having all of those same meanings that it does in your native language is pretty slim. And in fact, we see that here in this case in German. Wow, the mountains are still white. It's the 1st of June today and there's still snow on the mountains. This winter just does not want to let go. So let's switch to German and see how we hold up here. Die direkteste Übersetzung dieses Wortes ist treffen. Wenn man einen vereinbarten Termin hat, könnte man das als ein Treffen beschreiben. Das Wort treffen kann auch als Verb verwendet werden. Zum Beispiel, wir treffen uns nächste Woche mit den Kunden. Also, das Treffen, the meeting, wir treffen uns, we're going to meet. It seems as though it's the same across the 2 languages, and it's tempting then to assume that we can use the verb treffen in all the same ways we can use the verb to meet in English. But be careful, because we can't. Wenn man jemanden kennenlernt, sagt man nicht treffen, sondern kennenlernen. Zum Beispiel, ich habe ein Mädchen kennengelernt und wir haben uns ineinander verliebt. Eine englischsprachige Person würde das wahrscheinlich nicht so formulieren. Man würde vielleicht das Verb treffen verwenden, aus Versehen. Und ich weiß das, weil ich diesen Fehler mehrmals gemacht habe. Ich habe ein Mädchen getroffen und wir haben uns ineinander verliebt. That sounds like it should be a good translation of I met a girl and we fell in love. But it kind of sounds weird in German because treffen refers specifically to a scheduled or planned meeting with someone that you know. If you're talking about the process of getting to know someone, like meeting someone for the first time and getting to know them, that's not treffen, that's kennenlernen. If what you're describing is a random chance encounter with someone that you've never met before, you probably wouldn't use treffen, and you definitely wouldn't use kennenlernen. The verb you might be looking for there is begegnen. Literally, that's to encounter. We can talk about die Begegnung. Literally, that is the encounter. In English, you might say a chance encounter or a random encounter. I was at the airport and I had a chance encounter with a famous actress. Ich war am Flughafen und ich habe einer berühmten Schauspielerin begegnet. We didn't get to know each other, I just kind of met her. Und pass auf, das Wort treffen hat eine weitere Bedeutung auf Deutsch und sie ist ganz unerwartet. Beim Schießen, when you're shooting, like with a gun or with a bow and arrow, dann sagt man, ich habe das Ziel getroffen. Literally, you're saying, I met the target. We don't say that in English. In English, you'd say, I hit the target. Hit usually means like to punch something with your fist, but if you're shooting a gun, you can say in English, I hit it. Nice car. Auf Deutsch sagt man, ich habe das Ziel getroffen. This leads to ambiguity. If I say, ich habe Heinrich getroffen, does that mean I met Heinrich? Or does it mean I shot Heinrich? It depends on context. Hopefully it's clear from the context of the conversation that I didn't shoot the guy, but you never know. And unfortunately, in German, it doesn't stop there. In German, you also meet preparations. That makes no sense in English. In English, you would say, I have made the necessary preparations. But in German, ich habe die notwendigen Vorbereitungen getroffen. I have met the necessary preparations. This sort of matches up with the use of English to mean to like to meet expectations or to meet a deadline. It's sort of along the same lines, I guess. And yet it still doesn't end there. In German, you also meet decisions. This one always weirds me out because it just doesn't seem like it makes any sense. In English, you make a decision. Or you arrive at a decision. But in German, literally, you meet a decision. Ich habe die Entscheidung getroffen. I have met the decision. No. In English, you would say, I have made the decision. Okay, so let's bring this all around full circle and let's look at this sentence again. Wenn ich nach Deutschland reise, hoffe ich, dass ich viele Menschen treffen werde. Is that sentence right or is it wrong? Well, not to get all wishy-washy, but it kind of depends what you mean. If you mean, I hope that I have a bunch of chance encounters with German people, I get to practice my German and then move on and never talk to them again, then I guess that could work. But I'd rather use begegnen. Ich hoffe, dass ich vielen Menschen begegnen werde. I hope that I will encounter many people. But if you mean that when I travel to Germany, I hope that I get to know a lot of people and become friends with them, then you wouldn't say treffen there, you wouldn't say begegnen there, you would say kennenlernen. Wenn ich nach Deutschland reise, hoffe ich, dass ich viele Menschen kennenlernen werde. I hope that I will get to know a bunch of people. Okay, before we close out this episode, let's talk about a few compound nouns involving the noun treffen. And let's do a verb prefix jamboree. By God, it's been a while. It's season 3 all over again. Let's take a look at some of the verb prefixes that we can stick in front of the verb treffen in order to change its meaning. Let's start with some compound nouns. You can stick certain things in front of treffen. Das Treffen is the meeting, like the prearranged, the scheduled meeting. You can stick nouns in front of that to form different kinds of meetings. For example, das Abiturtreffen. Abitur is like a graduation thing, so Abiturtreffen is like a class reunion or class meeting. Das Familientreffen. Die Familie, of course, is the family, so a family meeting. Das Aktionärtreffen. Aktionär is like a stockholder, so it's like a shareholders meeting, etc., so on and so on. Now for verb prefixes, we don't have as many as we normally do, but we do have a few. Let's take a look at them. You can use the prefix betreffen. What does that mean? It means to concern someone. So, das betrifft mich nicht. That doesn't concern me. You can say that kind of rudely to someone. Das betrifft dich nicht. That does not concern you. You can also say, auf jemanden zutreffen. That means to apply to someone. For example, die Geschwindigkeitsbegrenzung trifft mich nicht zu. The speed limit does not apply to me. If the Calgary police are watching, the speed limit of course applies to me. I obey the posted speed limit at all times. It was just an example, guys. You can also say daneben treffen. Daneben means next to. This again goes back to shooting. If you say daneben treffen, it's like you missed the target or you're off the mark. You can mean this either literally or figuratively. Even in English, we can say that someone is off the mark. Mark is a shooting expression. The mark is the thing you're aiming at. If you're off the mark, it means you missed the target. But you can also figuratively say that someone is off the mark. It means that they're wrong. Their guess or their supposition was incorrect. And in German, you have übertreffen. Über, of course, means over or above. So übertreffen, this lines up with English to meet or exceed expectations. Übertreffen, du hast das Ziel übergetroffen. You have exceeded the target. You have not just met that expectation, you beat it. Oh, what a beautiful day out here today. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, das war's für heute. Wir sehen uns beim nächsten Mal. Das hier ist Lernen und Fahren.